Hello there, I'm Billy, and I'm a knitter, a happily addicted knitter. I've been knitting off and on since I was 4. The pandemic allowed me to really kick it up a notch. Now I knit all day, every day. Well, at least it seems like that. If you haven't stopped by before, just wanted you to know this is not your typical knitting podcast. I usually knit vintage, but not always. And I don't do the usual FO whips and acquisitions format. Sometimes I interview other knitters who also knit vintage. And on occasion, I host CALs. I have a CAL that's just gotten underway, and there's still time for you to jump on and join us. I'll insert a picture here of what it is that we're working on. It's a vintage Spencer, as it's called in the UK. Here in the States, we would probably call it a camisole. A very simple lace design, not too complicated a project. So if you're a beginner, don't be afraid to join us. Information will be found in the description below. In this episode, I'm going to talk about this Alpine sweater. I'm going to talk about what I'm knitting on. I'm going to talk about a recent sweater that I completed. You'll get to meet my husband in this episode. A few other bits and bobs, and stick around till the very end when I'll show you a little bit about the world outside my door. It's hugely important for the future of this channel for you to like episodes and to comment on them. Your comments can be anything from what type of yarn are you using, where did you find that pattern, maybe volunteering some information of your own where you like to find vintage yarns, for example, what decades you prefer. I'm even interested in hearing what you're working on. Those comments are critical to the future of this channel. Subscribing is great if you're so inclined. And certainly if you want to be notified about upcoming episodes, you must hit the bell. But it's the comments that will really help this channel most of all. Last time I showed you this sweater, it's called Alpine, that I completed for a friend of mine. Her elderly mother had started the sweater, completed one front panel as well as the back, when macular degeneration caught up with her and she wasn't able to finish it. So I offered to knit both the sleeves and the remaining front and assemble it so that her mother can wear it. It has a very interesting textural panel right in here in a chevron shape. The yarn is Madelinetosh. It makes a really interesting tonal, not really pooling per se, but I think it adds another dimension to the sweater. The sleeves are done in ribbing, and the neckline also done in ribbing, but there was this little scallop edge. Now, last episode, I showed you just how much yarn I had left, and I still had a couple more of these scallops, and I was afraid I was going to run out of yarn. But as it turned out, I was able to finish it off and still have a little yarn left over. So for those who guessed that I wouldn't cross the finish line, you underestimated my abilities. It's a cute little crop sweater. I think she's a tiny woman. I haven't met her. I'm hoping to be able to meet her and see how the sweater fits. And I'm also anxious to see the expression on her face. It's a surprise. She doesn't know that someone is completing her sweater. So it should be very nice to witness that. My other finished object is a sweater that I'm going to have my husband come on and model for you. In the last episode, I was showing you this Stephen West Majestic mountain sweater that I was knitting for my son. No, this is not my son, although he is younger, but he has a very similar build to our son. So I asked my husband if he would come on the show. This is his It's not exactly his debut because he's been the clapboard guy on occasion, but I asked him if he would be kind enough to come on and model this almost finished object. I just have a little bit of, yeah, sleeve finishing off to do. Could you stand up and show the nice people out there? And you want to turn around? Keep turning. Just kneel down a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty good. Just turn a little this way. So there, at least you can see the back. He's hunched down a little bit, so it's not straight, but it is horizontal. Thank you. These little bits of brown, I just purchased one mini skein for $1 at Rhinebeck. It's one of the few things I bought because I really felt that I needed something completely different from the rest of the sweater to have a pop of color. It's not a bright color, but it's very contrasting with the rest of the sweater. Stephen West recommends that you use 2 strands of things. So I basically used, I basically used as my main color a yarn that's a sock yarn that's multicolored and self-striping. So it kept changing throughout. Sometimes I used 2 strands of the same color to really get a solid color effect. On the welts, most of these are multiple colors. The powder blue is a solid color, the yellow is a solid color, this mint green is solid, but all the others are marled, usually amongst themselves, not so much with what I'm calling the main color, which is sock yarn I just showed you. He has a really interesting texture here. It's not garter stitch. I don't want to give away too much of the pattern, but it's textured. And then the texture in here is different because he's using some slip stitches and some stockinette. There's actually very little stockinette on this sweater. There's a band stockinette in here, and then there's a broken ribbing kind of pattern all down the sleeves. And you could stand up again, maybe. Thanks. And all of this. But then on the sides, he does a different texture. I don't know if you can see it goes in and out. There's another, not exactly garter stitch, but sort of. And then different ribbing for the waistband. So there's a lot of texture to it, which I think makes it a very interesting sweater, certainly more interesting to knit than plain stockinette. A fairly easy knit, I would say. The construction is a little interesting around the yoke, a little different from other yokes, but I think it gives a really nice fit. And I'm lucky that my husband is here in the same city as I am because our son is on the opposite coast and couldn't try it on. So each step of the way, I was able to have my husband slip it over his head. It is knit from the top down. This is a double thickness. It's folded in and you pick up the stitches. So it was really good that I had a human model who could keep trying it on as I went. I wanted to make sure that the sleeves were going to fit. Our son is a teensy bit, let me say a little bit slimmer.
Yeah, and some of this feels a little bit, there's a lot less ease in this, but for him it'll be probably better. Also, these shoulders here help to give a very interesting V silhouette for the man. It's very comfortable. It really like moves very well with the body. Very soft too. Very comfortable.
I did do a little shaping. Stephen West has it knit straight down. I did take it in because our son has more of a V shape, and our son has very tiny wrists, smaller than mine. So I made the sleeves a little narrower than the pattern called for. Okay. I was so disgusted with one of my other projects that I just had to put it aside for a while. And I'm really enjoying knitting for our son. Thicker yarn than I'm accustomed to working with, chunkier needles. It's really a nice diversion from fingering and lace weight, which is where I usually find myself. So currently what I'm knitting for him is a sweater that I'm designing that will have all over cables. Let me show you this is the back. I don't have a lot of experience with cables. Certainly I've never done anything that's all over cables. It looks like it's going to need just a little bit of blocking to show off the texture. It's even a little difficult to see it here. There's a twist here, and then there's another twist here that go in opposite directions. It's subtle, which is what I wanted. I wanted the yarn to be able to sing. If you caught the episode when I had just come back from Scotland, I purchased this yarn at Jameson and Smith. It's not their own label, but they make a yarn for West Yorkshire spinners called the Croft Shetland tweed. It's not really tweed. It's kind of like a mock tweed. It gives the illusion of what a tweed yarn might look like. So tweed would have little, I think they're called neps. This is a smooth yarn. I think it's really a very interesting yarn. It's not too bad to work with. It's a little bit splitty. I am getting used to it. It's not as rustic as some of the other yarns that I felt in Shetland, which is why I chose this. I want him to be able to wear it against his skin. And because it's not being used for Fair Isle, I didn't need the toothiness of the Shetland wools. It is 100% Shetland wool, but I like the hand. I'm going to be getting back to knitting on finer needles with a finer yarn in the cow, which is when I'm recording this, it has not yet begun, but it's just about to get started. So you do still have time to jump in and join us. I'll put the information in the description of this episode. We're going to be knitting what's called a Spencer. It's like a camisole in the United States. There are options for knitting it sleeveless, short sleeve, or long sleeve. And the knit-alongs that I do are all done over Zoom. So we all come together and compare notes with one another. I've already looked over the pattern and I see that there's some maybe tricky way that in which the pattern is written that might trip up somebody who's a newer knitter. I'm not even sure that I have it right, but that's what swatching is for, to see how is it working. So that's the kind of thing that we'll be discussing as we progress through it. There'll be several Zoom episodes and there'll be a prize at the end, a prize drawing for all the participants. So do check it out if you're interested in having a nice warm undergarment to get you through what might be a very cold winter. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to take a look at the video I did a couple of weeks back about my top suggestions for gifts for the knitter in your life. I'll put a link up here. There's some interesting items in it, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but take a look. I also wanted to mention my upcoming travel plans. Next month, I expect to be in Paris for about a week. I'm going to try and catch the shocking Schiaparelli show that's on now, because the exhibit features a sweater that I made a copy of. I'll also put a link here so you can go back and look at least one of the episodes where I'm knitting along with my group. We knit the bow knot sweater I think it's 1927 or 28. And I'm very much looking forward to arriving at the museum sporting my own version of the bow knot. So if you think that you'll be in Paris, I'm looking at the week of January 9th, give me a shout. Maybe we can connect over there. It won't be my first trip. I'm going to put a picture here to show you. Not my very first trip, but one of my earlier trips to Paris when I was young and had dark hair. Interestingly, my hair is not black in this picture, but 20 years or so after this picture, my hair got even darker. In a moment, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to do a random drawing once again for these patterns, which I brought back from Wool Week in Shetland. Unfortunately, the people whose names were called last time around haven't claimed their prize. So let me draw two more names. Okay, this is the video where I requested people make the comments, and the winner is Judy Fick. That's winner number one, and we've got to pick another winner. Julie Morley. So Julie and Judy, if you're watching, please get in touch with me. You can find me on Ravelry or Instagram at billietoy. I'll put that on the screen for you. If all else fails, leave a comment here and we'll try and figure out how to connect with one another. I'd be happy to send one of these your way. So that about wraps it up for this episode. Don't forget, stay tuned for some interesting footage and pictures of my city. Hope you enjoy, and I hope you're enjoying the holiday season. Take care, everyone. See you next time.
Balls and on that rose wood.
So it's like this.